I'm Dylan Alexander, and today I will be demoing the scanner implementation of the SCL interpreter. I would like to note that for this entire project, including each of the three deliverables, I am working alone and I am not working with the group that I was assigned to. The reason for that is they are not really reachable. The communication between us is sparse, at least at the beginning, and I knew that I am more than capable of doing this alone at a much faster pace than trying to collaborate with other people. So, for the duration of this project, again, I will be working alone. So, without further ado, let's get started. In the root of the project that I am working within, I've labeled it CS 4308. Inside of this project, I have a virtual environment that contains, at this point, just the interpreter for the version of Python that I'm using. So I'm using Python 3.10.6, I believe. And inside the virtual environment, this is where the interpreter for the Python version is included, and then along with any other third-party libraries or dependencies I choose to have. So right now, the only thing that's in this project is the scanner.py file and the example.scl. Inside of the SCL file, it's just a really simple and straightforward program that includes a if and else statement. And then inside the scanner.py file, I have modularized the scanner object into its own class. And then below, we have a break in the file where we see if name equals main. If dunder name equals dunder main, as we like to call it in the Python community. This is going to denote the actions that need to occur when the Python file is invoked via command line or some other external process. So as this file is called from the Python interpreter or from the command line, it's going to import the argparse library. The argparse library is going to allow us to utilize any information or data that's passed through as an argument inside of the command that we passed inside the terminal. It'll make a little bit more sense when I do the execution here in a minute, but essentially what's going to happen is I'm going to pass a file name as an argument in the command line. That file name is going to be basically parsed, and then we're going to use this file name to open the file that lives in the directory, that file being the example.scl file. Once it's opened, we're going to read its contents, and this is essentially going to be one huge string, and we're going to scan that entire string just as we would with any other programming language, and we're going to divide every character into a subset of keywords, operators, identifiers, and numbers. And we're going to do that with the initialized scanner class. So when we first initialize it, we start off with some basic keywords that our programming language is going to have. Then we also have some basic operators such as plus, minus, multiplication, division, raising to the power of, equals, greater than, less than. And then you'll notice that our identifiers list and the numbers list is initially empty, but as I state inside the inline comment, this will be populated with the scanner as we iterate over every character inside of the file, or the string that is the contents of the file. So inside the scanner class, I also have the scan function, which utilizes a while loop to iterate over every single string, and then we basically have some logic to denote whether or not that character in the string is an operator, a keyword, identifier, number, or symbol, so on and so forth. And then, if it's a symbol, or if it's white space, or if it is just a regular space, obviously we're not going to do anything with that and just skip over it and increase the index. If we can't describe or denote what the character is, we will raise an exception. That exception will be a syntax error, and we're going to stop the scanner execution and then see what the problem is if that was to occur. Then we return the list of tokens, and then we parse those tokens into a JSON file. We divide these tokens that returned from the example.scl file, and then put them into the respective JSON file that will be populated inside of our working directory. This file will be called like tokens.json, and then we'll get to see the output inside of the terminal as well as inside of a JSON file. So let's do that now. I'm going to cd into my working directory. Now I'm going to activate my virtual environment. Now my virtual environment's activated, and I will have access to any of the dependencies, libraries, and specific interpreter that I'd like to use. So because I have the virtual environment activated, now I can use the desired interpreter as opposed to just using the global interpreter that exists when you install Python. So right now, instead of using that global interpreter, I am choosing to use the Python 3.10 implementation of the interpreter that exists inside of the virtual environment directory. So now I'm going to call the SCL_scanner.py file. And then as an argument to this call, I'm going to write example.scl. And now when I hit enter, it's going to take this argument, open the file, do the scanning, and then give us the scanning implementation. So now we can see here's all the different tokens throughout the entire file. And we can see once we go back to our PyCharm IDE that a tokens.json has been generated. And this tokens.json looks essentially the same as what we see in the terminal. It goes on and on and on and on. So thank you for your time. I hope this was a well presented project.